Let's see. Am I up? I believe we are live? Question mark? Welcome to the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Alci, host of Alci Rambles. Today, we'll be talking about a lot of things, actually. Quite a couple things.
Am I up?
So, let's get it started right off the bat. I'm just looking at the chat right now, making sure that there isn't any tomfoolery going on. On the other hand, I want to get right into it. We'll be talking about a couple albums. They won't be like new. Like they're probably from last month, maybe a little later. I try to keep it as recent as possible, but I'm going to be talking about very hyped releases. Turn up the audio. You think so? You think the audio is not enough? Here, I'll turn up the gain for you fellas. I don't know if that's too much. Let's see. Okay. Regardless. Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, we're gonna talk about hyped releases, things that people were really looking forward to, and things that I'm really looking forward to. There's quite a bit. I'll have it to sometime in the show. We'll get into some political news, and I also want to touch on a little bit of history. I'll give you guys a cool history fact, something that not many of you might know, something that I thought you'd find interesting. So let's get right into it. First, we got the new Childish Gambino project. On release, it's called 31520. It's also known as Donald Glover Presents. So, thoughts on listening to this? I did listen to this a couple times. I think each individual track on the album is really solid. I think they're all really good. The main problem with the album, like for example, Algorithm is a great track. Like that's probably one of my favorite tracks so far this year. Because it's so good. The lyrics are tight. You have this weird, like dark, robotic-ish noise at the beginning that plays for a good, I would say, minute or two. And then you got Gambino coming in with the vocals. He starts singing. And that's very good too. Sorry, I just looked at the comments. But yeah, that's amazing. It's great. Because you have like... And Gambino's just like, algorithm. That shit is fire. You go into Time. And Time retains that... The momentum that set by Algorithm is really tight, really good. Nice vocals. Excellent lyrics. And the album... Overall, if you look at each individual track, take them piece by piece, they're all really good. He even slipped in Feels Like Summer, which was in his 2018 Summer Pack, which kind of surprised me when I heard it, because I didn't really expect it to be on... Jesus. I didn't expect it to be on the album. So, getting to the actual problem with the album... The main thing that I ran into when I was re-listening to it was the general lack of a theme. It didn't really seem to want to work towards one point. It kind of just said, here's a bunch of songs. They all make noises. And yeah, that's the whole gist of it. So that really made me hurt. It hurt my brain. It really did. I'm gonna be totally honest. It hurt my brain. The general lack. What ended up happening was that. What's a Donald Glover? Oh, Richie, you silly goose! You know what a Donald Glover is. Donald Glover is Childish Gambino himself. Regardless, there's a general lack of a theme, and you start listening to it, and you're thinking, oh, there's just there is a set sound that the album has. It's really dark. There's a nice dark undertone. The lyrics are always talking. There's a consistent feeling of anxiety uncertainty about today's society. And honestly, even when you look at it, it just all comes apart. It feels like a poor criticism of America and the system that's set up. And it seems poor because there's no, it doesn't hit a point. When you hear something like This Is America, which was also released in 2018, and you think this is a solid track. This has real criticisms. The video has several allusions to American history and things that are even happening in present America, present day America. And you start to think, well, why didn't he carry this over to Donald Glover Presents? It's interesting. But the album ended up falling a little flat. Even if the tracks were good, what I look for in an album is there's an overarching theme, or if there's no storyline, no tight storyline that's being told, like in After Hours by The Weeknd, for example, then at least have a consistent sound. Like, for example, Travis Scott's Astroworld didn't necessarily have like a storyline, but the songs all retain this very futuristic sound to it, which is what makes Astroworld such a tight project, such a really good, well thought out, tight knit, excellent project. There, with like a few holes in it, of course, but it's still really good. So if you followed my Snapchat when I reviewed the Donald Glover Presents, I gave it a 6 out of 10. And now that I've thought about it more, I might actually give it a 5 out of 10. Simply because it's just a clutter. The album is a mess. There's not anything being told straightforward. So now moving on to that, we're going to talk about After Hours by The Weeknd and After the Hype Is Gone. So I remember being really hyped for this album, especially when Blinding Lights and Heartless were released back to back in, I think, November or maybe even December. I don't remember. But I was really hyped for this project. He was setting up a really 80s sound with the heavy synths played in Blinding Lights. And he leaned even deeper into that with the 808s found in Heartless. And the haunting vocals of The Weeknd talking about his exploits in a relationship. And I know, it's great, right? See Richie just losing it over Blinding Lights. It's a great song. But a lot of people got caught up in the hype, weren't able to see what the project what it really was. So now that the hype is gone, I think we're able to look at it a little better. And I'm able to assess that nothing's changed. The album's still great. The album is a really solid project. I really, really adore it because the way Abel sets up the Weeknd character, he sets it up as essentially a crazy person, which is really interesting because he jumps back and forth from, oh, I want to be in a relationship with you, please take me back, to I'm going back to cheating, to you've cheated on me, so I'm going to cheat on you as revenge, to please take me back, I don't, and then he goes to drugs. So Alone Again, that's how it opens up with Alone Again. And it's him at the end of his relationship, presumably. His ex cheated on him. Then it's Too Late, Hardest to Love, back to back. It's like, oh my God, I know the mistakes that I've made. There's not much I can do to mend it. You're a strong person because I've been the hardest to love. That's why it's called Hardest to Love. Scared to Live. He's saying, I basically don't want to get into a relationship again. I'm scared to live. It's really self-explanatory in the titles. Then you got a song like Snow Child and Escape from LA. Back-to-back garbage songs. I can't believe they're on the album because, oh my God, if Snow Child and Escape from LA were not on the album, this album would be a 10 out of 10, I think. Unfortunately, that's not the case. They do quickly recover. Let me silence my phone. How unprofessional of myself. they do recoup because you got Heartless, which is one of the singles released by The Weeknd. Amazing. Great. Oh my god. Heartless is about him cheating as revenge on his ex. Yeah, that's a great idea, right? Everyone knows that this best idea. Oh, somebody cheats on you? Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to cheat. That's not what you do if you didn't know. But The Weeknd does here. Then you got Faith. I don't know what Faith was really talking about. I guess the drugs and the cheating made him say, oh, snap, you know what? God ain't real. It's a really solid song, though. The sound is really good. Then you got Blinding Lights. So you have banger after banger after banger on this track, which is minus rap, which is really good. Really good. I love when this happens. Listen, I haven't seen this since Kanye West's The Life of Pop. I'm just kidding. But yeah, Blinding Lights, as I said before, heavy synth, heavy 80s feel, retro vibes. It's amazing. Really solid project. Really solid track. Then you got Blinding Lights. In Your Eyes. In Your Eyes is another single drop. Very good. Also uses the synths as seen as Blinding Lights. So the latter half of the album turns into a really synth-heavy 80s type. Like, if you didn't feel the 80s vibe before, you're definitely feeling it now. It's insane. There's heavy drums. The synths are blaring. It's like it's retro shit, bro. In Your Eyes, Save Your Tears. Then you got Repeat After Me, which is an interlude, which it was kind of mediocre in my opinion. I think it was all right. It didn't offer much. Then you got After Hours, which was also another single dropped by The Weeknd as a promotional teaser for After Hours. Believe it or not, I remember when this single came out, and I did not really like it. And that still kind of sticks today. I don't really like the feel of it. I don't think it lives up to, say, Heartless, Blinding Lights, and even In Your Eyes, which was released as a single way later than the former few. So I don't think After Hours really does it for me as a single. Doesn't really hook me in. Doesn't really get my attention and say, wow, this is worth that single title. This should be played on the radio. The album concludes with Until I Bleed Out, unless you're on the deluxe version, which it's got a couple bonus tracks, which I won't be talking about because I don't care about the deluxe version. I care about the original project released. So Until I Bleed Out, the end of the album, The Weeknd is literally bleeding out. He's probably dying. It's up for interpretation to whatever the viewer believes is happening. Give me a minute. That was my father. Anyways. So, After Hours, really solid track. Again, if you follow me on Snap, you would know what I rated it. I rated it, I think, at the time, a 7 out of 10. I believe I should bump that up just a little bit because the storytelling on this album is really solid. It's really good. There's an overarching theme, and the way that The Weeknd sets up a pattern to the sound of the album. Anyways, it's really solid, really good. Stop laughing at me, Richie. Tired of you. The album's an 8 out of 10 in my opinion. I did have a lot of time to think about that, so I think I'll leave it at an 8 out of 10. Still not as good as Starboy. Still not as good as Starboy. The new Comethazine project, which came out quite a while ago. Pandemic. It was garbage. I'll let you know right now, it is hot garbage. Now, will I be listening to it? Yes, it's Comethazine. But it still sucked. If you look at Comethazine's discography, you see that he progressively gets better through each Bosky project, which is something that I love to see in an artist. I love it when they start out a project and they gradually get better. That's how it's supposed to be, right? It's not supposed to be like, for example, Kid Cudi, where you have amazing projects like Man on the Moon 1 and 2, and whatever came after Man on the Moon 2. I think it was like Satellite Flight, whatever it's called, or Indicud. and then he drops Speeding Bullet to Heaven, which is like a huge decrease. Like, you weren't supposed to get worse. That's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to get better. What are you doing? What are you doing? He did recover with Pain, Passion, and Demon Slaying, and then rebounded hella hard with Kid Cudi Ghost, which was an amazing project. He collaborated with Kanye on that one, though, so I don't know if that can be really considered his. It's more of a collab project. Regardless, back to Pandemic. It really sucked. Remember when I was talking about I like albums that have overarching themes or at least a general sound to it. This had a general sound to it, but it was general garbage. And that's that's the unfortunate part, because I really wanted to like this. But it's just edgy for no reason at times. It's just like, oh yeah, I'm Comethazine. I'ma kill you. Haha. I'm gonna smash your girl. Haha. It's like, it's just a worse version of Bosky. Bosky 1, pretty solid, generic trap beats, but Comethazine had dope hooks, dope rhyme schemes. It was very simple but easy to get down with. Same thing with Bosky 2. Then you got Bosky 3, which was a major upgrade on the trap beats. The melodies were way different. They were a lot better, sonically speaking. And you had Comethazine experimenting with his flow, which was awesome. I love to see that in Comethazine, but I don't know what happened with Pandemic. It was so tragic. So tragic. Moving on, we got Travis Scott. Travis Scott has not dropped anything new. Unless you count Jack Boys at the far end of 2019. But I wanted to talk about Travis because I've been re-listening to some of his projects, and it really made me appreciate how awesome Travis Scott is. Let's start with Astroworld, because I remember re-listening to Astroworld because I remember back in 2018 the hype was insane for this project. Absolutely insane. And it was totally warranted. Now, I think it was a little overhyped, in my opinion. A little overhyped, but when you look past the hype, the project was still really solid. Let me pull up a track list real quick. Because you open up with a banger like Stargazing, which is a perfect intro. It's perfect. It is. You cannot get any better with that when you're talking about intros to a album project. You can't get any better than that. It's impossible. It's impossible. Because it really puts you immediately in that futuristic theme park type feeling. Because, like, you feel like you're looking at stars. It sounds corny. It does. It sounds stupid. But it's exactly how... Because you have the little twinkles in the beginning. And then Travis comes in with the vocals, which sound like echoey. And it's, like, really powerful. He comes onto you really strong. It's like, rolling, 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 got me stargazing. And it's dope. You're transported to another world. And then, like, the end of the song, the beat switches up. And it... Oh, my God. Okay. You got Carousel. Carousel is exactly like it sounds. It's a trip. It's a ride. Really interesting song. Not one that I've listened to several times, but really good nonetheless. You got Sicko Mode, which could go down as 2018's most overhyped track of all time. 2018's most overhyped track of all time. That sounds strange. Sicko Mode, regardless of how overhyped that shit was, it's still heat. It's really good. And it's split into 3 parts. Each part is amazing. So you have Drake opening up in the beginning, sun is down, freezing cold, whatever. Right? He sets up the track to be something that is completely not what ends up happening. You think it's going to be a little more mellow, something like, what can I compare it to? Something mellow. It's a lot lower. And then you hear the four bangs that really set it off. You're like, what the? And then it hits. And then Travis starts rapping. When I tell you that shit made me like explode when I first heard it, I jumped straight out of my chair. I rocketed like a spaceship. It was insane. Because you have Travis dropping bar after bar, reference after reference, clever. These are clever lines, by the way. These aren't like what you'd expect from Travis. Like when I listen to Travis, it's mindless party bangers. That's what I think of when I think of Travis. And Sicko Mode was that, but it had amazing references. And you even had the Biggie Gimme the Loot sample in there, which threw me off, but it still worked so flawlessly in the entire project. It was really solid. I really appreciated that. And then you get a little break in the middle, and then it gets back to Travis rapping. And then when it ends, you get to Drake again. And I remember in 2018, I absolutely hated Drake. Because he was just everywhere. He was everywhere. And he still is kind of everywhere, but he doesn't have the presence that he did when he dropped Scorpion. That project was so terrible to me. I don't know if you hear that. Regardless, Drake had such a strong presence in 2018 that I thought when he was on Sicko Mode, I was going to lose my mind. But no. He makes Falling Asleep on Zanny, on a plane, sound exciting. Which blew me away. Because I didn't know Drake was able to do that. But he is. And he did. He did it. Astroworld, ladies and gentlemen. You got R.I.P. Screw. Good song. Not one that I really remember. Because who cares? Whose favorite song is R.I.P. Screw? When someone says put Astroworld on shuffle, nobody says, oh, play R.I.P. Screw first. Nobody. Now you gotta stop trying to be God, which is really weird. When you think of the overall theme of Astroworld, it's really weird. It seems out of place, but it's a very interesting take, I would say. I don't know who exactly he's talking about, but it's still a nice sound, really interesting. He does this Kid Cudi type humming the entire beginning of the song. And then he gets like this weird kind of fake voice. It's like, stop trying to be God. And then he starts like singing almost instead of rapping. He's like, because they did not create commandments. It's insane. You don't expect it from a Travis project. You got Skeletons, Wake Up, 5%, 10, NC-17. All really good tracks. They were all right. I mean, my bad. They were all really good. They didn't really stick with me, but I know for a fact that they were good. I have them all liked on Spotify, so that's saying something. Yeah, Astro Thunder, another solid one. Yosemite is a favorite. Yosemite is great because you got Gunna in there singing. I saw my Nick, flawless baguette, hop of a jet. Just an infectious chorus. One that really sticks with you. One that you really think of. It's great. It's great. I love Astroworld. I don't know how I can stress this enough. Yeah, I can't say who what. Butterfly Effect is really good. Houston Fornication is also really good. And Coffee Bean. So Astroworld was an amazing project. Amazing. Among my favorites of Travis, but not my favorite. That would have to go to Birds in the Trap. And by the way, I give Astroworld an 8 out of 10. But Birds in the Trap is a phenomenal record. And I think it would be a 10 out of 10 if that stupid-ass song, Sweet Sweet, wasn't in the middle of it. Because, like, if I could visualize it like this, right? Here's how I'd visualize it. If I had a chart like this, where it, like, starts off, like, the ends, it jumps right up with Way Back, because that's a great song. It stagnates a bit with Coordinate, goes down through the late night, it jumps up again. Beeves in the Trap, it's pretty good. SDP interlude, and these Sweet Sweets all the way down here. Like, that shit is terrible. If I don't have to hear Sweet Sweet for the rest of my life, I'd be totally fine with that, because that song sucks dick. Outside, pretty good. Goosebumps, everybody knows Goosebumps. That was the lead single for Birds in the Trap and was on the radio for like the entire year, I think even longer. Goosebumps is a great song, mindless club banger. Fucking awesome. First Take, Pick Up the Phone with Young Thug is great. Another mindless banger. I don't know how to describe Birds in the Trap. The production level was so high. This is like peak Travis. And it was from the year of great music, 2016. I can name you several projects that came directly out of 2016, and all of them were really good. You have The Life of Pablo. You have Birds in the Trap, obviously. You have To Pimp a Butterfly. You have... Oh, my God. 2016 was such a great year. Pain, Passion, and Demon Slaying from Kid Cudi. That entire year was just a hot streak. Just banger after banger after banger. It's amazing. You had Blonde. And that's a project that grew on me over time. That shit, oh my God, Blonde is really good. But my favorite tracks on Birds in the Trap are Way Back, Through the Late Night, and Lose. As a matter of fact, I've been singing Through the Late Night all day today. So you know it's pretty good. Because I'll just be sitting around. I'll be like, sleep through day, then we play all through the late night. That shit it's amazing. It's mindless. You let it run. Kid Cudi's vocals are heavenly, as usual. Kid Cudi just never fails to impress. Birds and Trap is an easy 9 out of 10. Now you look at a project like Jack Boys. It sucks. I don't know how to explain it. I think the reason that I don't like it as much as I do is because I was really hyped for it. I thought Astroworld was such a great project. I'm interested to see what Jack Boys is. You don't have to be interested in it. It's a really bad project. I don't know how to talk about it, bro. Like, it disappoints me. On the other hand, we have the new Playboi Carti single. I saw a lot of hate. First off, it's called At Meh. It's a weird name. Hard to find on Spotify for whatever reason. But I have to go to like his actual profile to see it. Whatever. You got Meh, which is a really good project, I think. It was a good track. I really like the weird... I think it was a xylophone. It sounded like a xylophone. It was really funny. It was really interesting. The way he went about it. You have the generic... Not generic. The iconic baby voice that Playboi Carti does as Playboi Carti do. But it wasn't bad. I don't know the hate. I saw a lot of hate going around this track. I thought it was really good. I don't think it was one of his best. I don't think it's Magnolia. I don't think it's Yamin. But it's pretty good. I think it's really good. And I'm quite interested for Whole Lotta Red. Or as the the track cover suggests, Whole Lotta Blue. Am I right, fellas? How's the new DaBaby album? The Tame Impala album was alright. I wouldn't say that it was amazing. It was really solid. I don't think it was like something that's like... Because you get a project like Currents, and you're like, wow, Currents is amazing. Currents was great, even if it's used by every white girl ever. But it's a really good project, and it earns the hype around it, because Currents is just amazing. Unfortunately, I don't feel the same about the new Tame Impala album. Like, I felt like it was kind of mediocre. I don't see anything new really done with the band. The vocals are on point as usual, but what am I supposed to expect? Thank you, Jack. But like, what are you supposed to expect? The album was alright. The album wasn't something that lived up to the hype of Currents, I think. So I was really disappointed with that. Also, quick shout out. One of my friends told me about the new Camellia project. If you don't know who he is, he makes beat bop music. I don't know how to explain it. If you like that It's kind of dubstep, kind of electronic house music, whatever the genre it is. If you like that sort of stuff, I would say check out that new Camellia project. Apparently, it was pretty good. I'll check it out myself eventually. Now, we got Kid Cudi. Kid Cudi dropped a new single, Leader of the Delinquents, and I remember when I first listened to it, I thought, this is really familiar. And I was right, it was really familiar. Kid Cudi initially rapped that first verse on a different show whenever he was still touring. This was like 8 years ago. It was in like 2012. And he rapped that entire first verse to prove to his fans that he still raps. The track is really good. I really like it a lot, and that's probably my Kid Cudi bias speaking, but it really gave me that A Kid Named Cudi mixtape feeling. He was rapping, which is something that most people who listen to Cudi are not used to hearing. People are not really used to hearing it. So he was rapping. It was a really old school vibe too. Like his flow. That's like some late 90s stuff. Like for real. We got someone talking about the baby over here in the comments section. I haven't listened to it yet. I'm going to listen to it. I remember that my friend was showing me a couple tracks like last night. And I think it sucked donkey balls, and that's coming from a guy who likes the baby. Like I think he's got a really interesting flow, even if it's the same in every song. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the baby. J. Cole has his album coming soon. It's to be announced. The Fall Off, as previewed in KOD, 1985, intro to The Fall Off. I'm very excited for this because KOD was an amazing project, and I believe it's my favorite J. Cole album so far. That's a bold statement, considering 2014 Forest Hills Drive was an amazing project. And on top of that, you also have something like For Your Eyes Only and Born Sinner. All of those were really good. Then you had Revenge of the Dreamers 3, which was amazing, but that's not a J. Cole project. That's a Dreamville project. Again, seriously, it's going to be a good day when the baby's forgotten. That's fucked up. But I'm really excited for this J. Cole project. KOD was an amazing introspective to how mumble rap functions, how drugs are overtaking the youth, and how to be responsible as a person. And the lyrics were tight, as usual. And J. Cole really moved away from that corniness that he set up for himself when he was like, in 2014 Forest Hills Drive, for example. Wait, was it 2014? Was it in Forest Hills? I'm thinking, Wet Dreams. That was in Forest Hills, right? I'm not tripping. Let's assume that it is. If it's not, I'm going to look like a dumbass. But Wet Dreams is in Forest Hills. That song is good until like the fourth time you hear it, and it kind of gets corny. Don't get me wrong, I really like that song still, and I still listen to it. But it's a little corny. Now, J. Cole really gets rid of that, and he does what Logic does, but 10 times better. He talks about he teaches, like, basically the mumble rap kids how to be responsible, how not to be irresponsible, and how to be smart with your finances. And he does it in a non-corny, non-condescending way, unlike Logic. And this is why Logic sucks. Logic stinks. It's horrible. Now Jack is asking about X, because he's an X dick sucker. And I'll tell you right now, I'm sorry. But X's good shit was when he was screaming and he was mad about everything. Young Brats, the song he did with Ski Mask, the fucked up one. And Question Mark was pretty good. The rest were fucking horrible. 17, I don't like 17. 17 was bad. Skins, terrible. And all his post-mortem albums are dog shit. And that's probably because his mom was trying to suck his fans dry using this whole death shit to his advantage, which is a little scumbaggy to me. But do what you can. It's the hustle, right? It's the hustle. Oh shit! I hit the mic. And in jail. And in jail. But that's that. Moving on. But I digress. The question mark was really good, I think. He really used this whole sad shit to his advantage. This is the only project that I saw where I thought, like, the sad things that X was rapping that I could actually, like, feel, not something that was, like, overplayed, overdrawn out for the Bart Simpson edits, for the edgy 10-year-olds on their Snapchats making, like, oh, I'm sad, my girlfriend of 2 weeks broke up with me. Ooh, boo-hoo. Moonlight, sad, Remedy for a Broken Heart, Floor 555, Infinity 888, Numb, Going Down. All really good. All really good. 17 was his best album? 17 was shit, I agree. 17 was not his best album. Exactly. Okay, whoever this guy is in my comments, he's spitting straight facts. 17 is a really bad attempt at a sad kind of vibe. It's like me in disguise. It really is. So, bit of a tangent, not so much. We're going to go off. We're going to veer off. Going down is bad, in my opinion. You think so? I struggle with my opinion on Going Down. Because I do flip-flop. But I think the vibe of that track is really nice. And I think the vocals are pretty tight, too. Sorry if I'm being, like, really... Oh, it's Josh. What's good, Josh? But, I like, if it's the stories and shit, like, nobody knows about the story. But, Jack, the story is supposed to be told through the album. If me as a viewer am unable to get that story, I get that. But if I'm listening to it and I can't get the story, there's a serious communication problem. For example, Nas's Illmatic is the pinnacle of hip-hop. It is the top tier, what you must aspire to be. Because the storytelling is so tight, the lyrics and the bars, the flow, all flow together amazing. They're swell. You have storytelling like on New York State of Mind, where this man tells an entire story, beginning to end. You know exactly every little detail that happens, and X is unable to do something like that. Now, I don't think you have to live up to something like Illmatic to make a good storytelling album. But The Weeknd did it. And I knew exactly what The Weeknd was talking about. Exactly, I agree. If he took the album a little slower, instead of rushing it with his like ringtone songs, 1 minute and 30 seconds each, it's all cluttered. Stop spelling Damons like that, dude. It's demons. It's not Damons. What is this? 13th century Europe? Unbelievable. Cut that shit out. But yeah, that's the whole thing. I just think he could have done it better. Like, at least with his old shit where he's screaming, right? He's not trying to tell a story. He's just really mad at the world. And you can get that because he's screaming. But if X was able to channel that energy, the way he was really clear on the screaming shit, but into sad music instead, like he was on Question Mark, I think 17 would be a better album. That's just my opinion. I'm going to put a pause on the music for today. We spent about 40 minutes speaking about music. So I think we're going to diverge a little bit into politics now. It's a really grimy word. Nobody likes hearing it. Let's talk about politics. Nobody likes hearing it. Let's get it done with. I know there's a lot of people who are interested in what I have to say about the current situation in our country. So let's look at it immediately. This is about a week old news, but Bernie Sanders dropped out, and that really pissed me off because that left Biden for the road. And I don't support Bernie, but I seriously do not support Biden. And I would have much rather had Bernie Sanders run against Donald Trump. But unfortunately, that's not the reality because I don't know what the fuck the Democratic Party is doing, but they're setting themselves up for failure by having an old senile, old sex offender go up against Trump so we can mock and make fun of him on live television for an entire hour. I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know why Elizabeth Warren dropped out and endorsed Biden. It really blew my mind. Granted, perhaps they didn't want a commie in office. And that's okay. But do you want Biden? You want Biden in office? Joe Biden. Joseph Biden, ladies and gentlemen. And this happens every single election since 2016, so only 2 elections. The Democratic Party throws quantity over quality candidates. And sometimes in that quantity, you have a good candidate. Pete Buttigieg. Great candidate. Knocked out real early. By throwing tons of shitty candidates, you strengthen Donald Trump's campaign. Exactly. It's going to be a reality show. It's going to be the funniest thing I've ever watched. But you strengthen Donald Trump's chance at getting reelected. And on top of that, the whole fiasco about getting this man impeached also strengthened his campaign because it shows that no matter how hard you try, you cannot kick this man out of office. My life of Trump's gonna go on a stage and be like, my life a movie. Because it really is. It really is. It's kind of tragic. Joe Biden doesn't know where he is half the time. And he is low-key racist. I don't know if you all ever heard the quote, but this man said something along the lines of, poor kids should have the same opportunities as white kids. What are you trying to say, buddy? What are you trying to say? Okay, Joe Biden. Really, really strong words, really unifying in these polarizing times where people can barely choose which side they want to align with because the general populace has the mental capacity of a turn signal. Oh, der, her, left or right, ha ha, lol. Oh, Nee, what's up, Nee? That's the problem. I say it's low-key, it's not low-key. Joe Biden does not care about black people. And I pulled a Kanye when he was, like, for example, when he was talking about George Bush back in 2006. But it's true. It's true. I want you to name something that Joe Biden does that explicitly helps minorities. In particular. It doesn't exist. And it's a damn shame. It is a damn shame. Because when you look at Biden's policies, they're generally good. I wouldn't say all of them are good. They're generally good. The problem is it's attached to the wrong face. The wrong person. Joe Biden is not a person I want leading my country. Joe Biden is the creepy old man that I would tell my kids to stay away from at all costs. For example, Biden is really against China and its trade policies, which I am 100% for. I think they're immoral with the way they conduct trade. And I think the way Trump went about fighting China's trade was really stupid. Pulling out of the Trans-Pacific Trade Treaty with Asia was a retarded idea, and it really set China as the de facto trading power in Asia rather than weakening them as Trump thought it would happen. Biden is also a big supporter of counterterrorism, which I'm a little iffy on because, yes, I would like to fight terrorism, but no, I would not like to go into another country to fight their terrorists. Joe Biden is also pro-free healthcare, which I've explained to my friends several times would not work in America because of the obesity crisis. And what that means is, for example, take France. France has an amazing free healthcare system, and they do it the best. Do it the best out of everybody. But France is way smaller than the US. And on top of that, when you have a free healthcare system, the populace pays with it through their taxes. So it sets up a reliance on each other. We're going to keep each other healthy. We're going to keep ourselves healthy so that you don't have to pay as much for my medical bills when I get sick. But when you have the obesity crisis like in America where several people are obese, like a lot of people are, they quite literally become burdens on society. So now they have to rely on me to pay for their health care because they're unhealthy. And that's kind of why it wouldn't work in America. Maybe if we were a little smaller, maybe if we didn't have the obesity crisis we're in, it would work. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Biden really drops in quality in terms of policy when you look at the fact that he's extremely anti-drug and worked alongside Ronald Reagan himself during the war on drugs. Ronald Reagan is the white devil. It's controversial. Is that controversial to say? I don't think so. Ronald Reagan alienated several minorities and made life generally worse for people of color on purpose, or I wouldn't go as far as to say on purpose. Whether he did it on purpose or not, he did do it. And he did it in a fucked up way. The war on drugs was catastrophic for minority groups. Catastrophic. Now, we're going to talk lightly about the coronavirus, and then I'm going to give you guys a cool history fact, and I'm going to close off the podcast, end off the day. But, so, the U.S. Department of Health has come up with another theory, they've seemed to have traced the coronavirus to a Chinese lab in Wuhan. So there's a Wuhan lab of virology just a couple miles away from the wet markets that the Chinese government said the virus originated from. So that's really sus. So a couple months pass by, and the U.S. Department of Health is like, hey, maybe it came from this lab. Now, no one has, or only extremists have claimed that it was weaponized. The general agreement is that they were studying the effects of coronavirus on bats. And they were studying to see how it works and how to combat it. The problem is their regulations were really lax. And that's what apparently led to the outbreak. Now, there's no consensus on this. Do not go around saying this is exactly what happened and start being racist to Chinese people, because that's not what you should do. Rather, who you should be mad at is the Chinese government, which, if you weren't mad at already, because they're the worst, you should be mad now. The Chinese government is evil. And the reason that the coronavirus got so out of hand is not because America is bad or was poor with the way that they conducted operations. Don't get me wrong. We had a lot of faults. Donald Trump fired the pandemic team. We weren't prepared. We didn't have the N95 masks in stock to fight the virus. But China was not transparent at all with how the virus was going and chose to censor any of the doctors that spoke out against the virus simply because they wanted to maintain the facade that they have everything under control. Donald Trump cutting the funding to the WHO was the dumbest move I've ever seen. Now, I agree that the way the WHO conducts things is stupid because they should not be supporting China and they should not recognize Taiwan because it would go against what China wants. I'm really tired of this keep the peace mentality that both the UN and the WHO maintain. Because it's time to put your foot down. I believe you are supposed to go out and take down any evil regimes in the world, especially one as powerful as China. Because if you don't do it now, in the future they will take you down. They will be in charge of you. The Chinese government should be dismantled. Taiwan should be restored as the rightful ruling class of China. They are the original Republic of China. It's absurd. And America's always portrayed in a bad light. Instead of cutting funding, we should have lowered the amount of funding we gave to the WHO. Because while we would still be contributing to it, it would also either force the WHO to recognize Taiwan and recognize the problems that China has caused, or it would have forced other European countries to contribute more. And the problem with European countries is that they don't contribute shit to anything. People wonder why America pays for 1/3 of their entire budget in the military. NATO is why. Well, it's not entirely why, but it's a lot of the reason why. To be part of NATO, you're required to spend at least 2% of your funding into defense. And several European countries do not do this. So America has to cover for them. We do their operations for them. In return, we're recognized as the big brother to all these countries. We're the big one. We're the financial supporters of all of them. We support them militarily speaking. We support each other. But the reason that we spend so much in military is because of NATO. And if the nations in NATO just contributed more to what they're supposed to do, we could redirect funding from the defense program to other things. Maybe the education system, help pay off the crippling student debt that several people are in. Why not do that? Why not do that? Because NATO. Because Euro cucks are like, America bad, but pay for my shit. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. America has to carry every time. Now, I admit, we're not great. We invaded We invaded Iraq for no reason, aside from oil. We were in Pakistan. We were in Afghanistan. We were in Syria. All just to project our power across the globe. It's quite tragic. But we're not as bad as the media portrays us. All right, so let's wrap up. Let's wrap up the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hit you with a history fact that you might not know. I remember reading about this a couple years back, and I thought it was hilarious. So, in the year 332 BC, during Alexander the Great's campaign against Persia, Macedonia set their eyes on the strategic coastal base of Tyre. I don't know how it's pronounced. I think it's Tyre. This is located in the Mediterranean. Now, they couldn't necessarily get to it because the island had walls built up right on the beaches. So, like, how are you going to invade it? Well, Alexander tried to blockade it and siege it for like 7 months. See you, Josh. He tried to blockade it for like 7 months. But no, that didn't work. So Alex got even pissed. Got even more pissed. So the madman built a land bridge. It's like a kilometer long and like 2 meters deep. And like 3/4 of the way, the water got really deep. And he couldn't keep building because the navy, the Tyrian navy, was harassing them. So how did Alex solve this problem? He built 2 humongous siege towers, filled them with catapults and ballistas, and sent them to the end of the bridge while they built, so these ballistas can harass the enemy navy while they were building the bridge. And he took the navy that he got from the city-states of Byblos, Arwad, and Sidon, and he had 223 galleys. So he used these to ram the walls of the city, and because he was so mad, he slaughtered 6,000 people, he crucified 2,000, and he sold 30,000 into slavery. And after the siege was over, he moved southwards to attack Gaza in Egypt to start his Egyptian campaign. So what's really cool about this fact is that the land bridge can be seen to this day. If you look up the picture of the Tyre land bridge, I think it should show up. It's a real thing. It's really cool looking. But that should conclude everything for today. Thank you for listening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next time in about 2 weeks. I'll talk about other shit. Send me recommendations. Maybe I'll talk about albums that you want me to talk about. I'll talk about political problems that you want me to talk about. And I'll drop another cool history fact right at the end. Alright, see you fellas.